Alright, today we're going to be learning about fractions. I know we've all learned about fractions, we've all seen fractions, we know what fractions are, but quick reminder, doesn't hurt anyone. So these are just examples of fractions. They're in the everyday life, you're going to have to know them. So let's get started. First of all, a little bit of fraction facts. The numerator, if you remember, is the top of the fraction. The denominator is the bottom. Okay, we're going to try to use those terms as much as possible. A mixed fraction means if you have 1 and 1/3. Okay, 1 and 1/3, what you do is you take 1 times 3. Okay, 1 times 3 is 3, and then add it to the top, so 3 plus 1 would be 4/3. So 1 and 1/3 is the same thing as 4/3. So if you see a mixed fraction, we're going to have to change it to an improper fraction, and what an improper fraction means is when the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So 4/3 is actually an example of an improper fraction. Alright, let's start with adding and subtracting. The main things about fractions is when you are adding and subtracting, you need a common denominator. That means the bottom number of the fraction has to be the same. So like number 1, 2/7 or 2/7 plus 3/7. Okay, they both have the same denominator, so we can go ahead and just add. So 2/7 plus 3/7. Well, 2 plus 3 is 5, and the denominator stays the same. So our answer would be 5/7. Now the thing you have to do once you add or subtract, you have to make sure you can't simplify. So you look at 5 and 7. Is there anything that goes into both? No, so we leave it. That's our answer. Number 2, 3/4 minus 1/4. They both have the same denominator, so we can go ahead and just subtract. So 3 minus 1 is 2. The denominator stays the same, so 2/4. But now we got to ask ourselves, does anything go into 2 and 4? Well, 2 goes into 2 and 4, so what you do is you divide the top and the bottom by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, 4 divided by 2 is 2, so your answer is 1/2. You have to simplify your answers. Alright, let's keep going. Continuing with adding and subtracting, 1/3 plus 5/6. Well, if you look at our denominators, you have 3 and 6. You know that 3 and 6 are not the same, so we have to make them the same. So you look at 3 and 6 and you say, okay, what do they both go into? Okay, if you want to make a list, you could say it's 3, 6, 9, 12, blah, blah, blah. 6 is 6, 12, 18, blah, blah, blah. And you look at the smallest number they have in common. Well, they both have a 6, because 3 can go into 6 and 6 can go into 6. So since this fraction right here is already over 6, we leave it as 5/6. Now we need to make this 3 right here into a 6. So what we need to do is we need to times by 2. But to make us able to do that, we also have to times the top by 2. So on top, 1 times 2 is 2. And then 3 times 2 is 6. So 1/3 is the same thing as 2/6. We're still adding, and now that we have a common denominator, we can go ahead and add. So 2 plus 5 is 7/6. You can ask yourself, does anything go into 7 and 6? No, so that's our answer. This is an improper fraction, which is fine. We don't want mixed fractions once we get to algebra. We're done with them, so we want improper fractions. Okay, number 4. 4/5 minus 2/3. Well, 5 and 3 are not the same. We need a common denominator, so we ask ourselves, what do 5 and 3 both go into? Now, if you are confused with how to figure that out, okay, you can either make your list, or if you just want to try something that works for every single problem, you can just take 5 times 3, or the two denominators multiplied by each other, because that way they both go into it no matter what. Okay, so 5 times 3 is 15, so we want to make both of them out of 15. Well, to get 5 to become 15, we have to times by 3, top and bottom. Okay, so 3 times 4 is 12. Over here, to get the 3 into a 15, we times by 5. Make sure you do top and bottom. So on top you have 10. So now we have 12/15 minus 10/15. If you subtract across, you get 2/15. Okay, nothing goes into 2 and 15, so that is our answer. That is adding and subtracting fractions. Now we're going to go into multiplying and dividing. Multiplying fractions should be the easiest type of thing you can ever do with a fraction, because you just multiply straight across. So for this first one, 1/3 times 4/5. 1 times 4 is 4. 3 times 5 is 15. Nothing goes into 4 and 15, so that is our answer. So multiplying is just straight across. You don't need a common denominator, nothing like that. You just multiply straight across. Okay, dividing, like number 6, 2/3 divided by 5/6. This is a lot like multiplying, but instead of dividing, what we want to do is you keep it, so 2/3, change it, so the divide becomes a multiply, and last but not least, flip it. You flip the second fraction to make it 6/5. So we want to change our dividing problem into a multiplying problem. And to do that, you flip the second fraction, only the second fraction, and you change it to multiplying. So now we can multiply straight across. 2 times 6 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15. You ask yourself, can anything go into 12 and 15? A 3, so you divide top and bottom by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 15 divided by 3 is 5, so your answer is 4/5. That is a review of fractions. Hopefully that gets you through, and we will see you tomorrow.